brand new Diablo information. Big mega update coming out, and it's actually quite cool. There's going to be new legendaries as well as the new Gauntlet. You're actually seeing the Gauntlet gameplay in the background. If you guys see over on the right side, basically the whole goal is to acquire these points. This is basically what a lot of players were excited about, and it kind of got pushed back, but it's finally going to be coming out very, very soon. So, starting right off, I'm going to go over like the release date of this. This is going to be on March 5th. It will require you, just as a heads up, to have World Tier 4 unlock, and they are going to be removing a bunch of the snapshotting that is going on. And during the Gauntlet, you cannot change any pieces of your gear. It's just kind of like a greater riff. You can't remove your like skill points or anything like that. And then one of the major changes that we are getting is the rogue bug is getting fixed with mastery. So that's essentially a massive, massive, massive nerf to the rogue because, well, with crossbow weapon mastery, you're getting insane damage. Now, on top of that, they are mentioning that they will have a PTR for Season 4. Now, in addition to that, I want to go over all of the notes here that are the most important and what you guys want to actually know while we have some of the brand new Gauntlet gameplay playing in the background. So, start right off, as far as vampiric powers, what's actually coming back? These are actually going to return in the form of brand new legendaries. So, these brand new legendaries are going to be aspects that we're going to acquire, and they're not going to be exactly one-to-one. So, basically, not as powerful, but in some cases, we haven't seen all of them. They haven't officially posted all of the stats on them, but here's what we got. So we have a Curse Touched, Blood Boil, Hectic, Metamorphosis, Moonrise, and Undying. Now, they did show off some of these, like you can see the Accursed Touch over here, where you're able to go ahead and have a chance for your skills to inflict vampiric curse on enemies, and they are going to be cursed with vulnerability, and then the souls that are stored deals some extra damage. This is mostly important on the sorcerers as it doesn't have a very good consistent way to apply vulnerability. But then on the blood boiling aspect, when our core skill overpowers, we're going to spawn these little blood drops, collecting them causes it to explode. And the most important thing is that every 20 seconds, you get a guaranteed overpower. Now, on top of that, there is also a defensive aspect over here called the Undying. When you cast a skill, you get to heal for 0.5 to up to 2% life, and you get to double this bonus while below 50% life. Now, they also did show off one of the other more popular skills, which was the Metamorphosis. That one will give you a short, brief moment of unstoppable, but is not going to be something that is permanent. But those are some of like the ones that we were able to see. And I'm assuming throwing this into Amulet could be actually pretty powerful. I mean, getting the 1.5 on the Undying aspect, so it would be 3.5, and doubling that would be like 7% life while you are below 50%. That's actually quite big, so that might be something to look out for, since now we're not basically forced on the Amulet for a lot of builds to play, of course, Disobedience. So on top of that, there's going to be some class updates. So there's going to be some changes with the Seneschal as well, but let's go over those. It's kind of small, to be honest. So what they did is they fixed a bug where you could like get towards like the billions of damage and poison, and there was some bug with one of the skills that was able to infinitely kind of stack. For the most part, most people didn't really utilize it other than inside like the training grounds, because you have to have it like proc a certain times on the target. Most of the time it would just die before it mattered, but nonetheless they fixed some of the like bugs in here. Then with the bleeding support, they just reduced the amount of the bleeding damage, and then with the burning, they reduced that as well. And the bonus crit strike damage per skill rank got reduced for the crit strike damage as well. And then as far as a Barbarian, what was really surprising is we actually get buffs with the Barbarian. I was like, okay, 100%, if I had to bet my money on it, the only class that I actually saw getting some massive nerfs was going to be a Barbarian. And they said, right now, it feels very powerful, but we're not going to nerf it. And from the gameplay that they showed off in the Gauntlet, Barbarian is miles ahead of every single character. Now, keep in mind with the new Gauntlet, where you're trying to get these points, and you guys are going to see like the difference between like a Barbarian and the other classes, because it's just going to play the gameplay in the background here. But it is leaps ahead, and the fact that they aren't nerfing Barbarian was a big surprise. But at the end of the day, I'd rather see buffs to other classes versus nerfs. But on top of that, they are just buffing the early game like basic skills with Barbarian. At the end of the day, still surprised that Barbarian is just going to be absolutely dominating the leaderboards if you're talking about all the classes, but each class does have their own leaderboard. So there's going to be some buffs to the underused skills. So the strategic ground stop ultimate cooldown is getting increased, and then there's also for Iron Skin, and then Prime Call of the Ancients, and then with Gore's Devastating Grips. Now, honestly, will this be changing things? Most people probably still just playing like Charge Hoda. It's like the #1 build in the entire game. Now, as far as the Gore's Devastating Grips, I mean, they're giving you extra rank to Whirlwind, and Whirlwind is very lackluster. The explosion damage could be, I guess, added, you know, another, what is that, 9%? It's such a weird number, like that min-max rolled here. But what I think is more interesting is that the reason why Gore's Devastating Grips were so good in the first place, and it's something that I really feel like they missed the mark on at understanding some of these balance changes in the game, was that, like, it was good because you could infinitely stack the damage and pop anything in the game, which would have been actually quite cool for the Gauntlet, because then you could one-shot the boss and then go on. Although it doesn't matter because the area is scaled to, I believe, 70. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to extra gameplay because they're doing some, like, live commentary for a moment here. Here's some Ball Lightning Sorcerer's gameplay in the Gauntlet. But as far as Sorceress goes, they are massively buffing Incinerate. The damage is getting increased by 40%. The Enhanced is getting increased by another 25%. And then the Destructive one is going to make it so enemies deal less damage to you, I think is what it is. And then the Greater Incinerate, the immobilized duration is increased by 1.5 seconds. Does this matter in the landscape of things? Well, the thing is that the unique Flame Scar does not count as burning damage, nor does it count as direct damage. Unless that gets addressed, the skill is still relatively lackluster, and you have to hold still. It's probably still going to see less than like 1% play at the higher end of games. And they also are buffing Conjuration skills, and then they are buffing underused passives, and then also Paragon glyphs are getting, I guess, changed up a little bit. So at the end of the day, we don't have all the patch notes. Those are going to be coming out very soon, and I'll update you guys ASAP on all the patch notes. This is just what was revealed today. But if you're new here, yeah, subscribe, and I will definitely be dropping that very soon. But we're not done with the video, just mentioning that these are what they showed off today. As far as Druid goes, they are actually buffing specifically like the pet build to the wolf pet when they have like some sort of like storm. It's getting a massive increase in damage. I mean, I do, at the end of the day, do like to see buffs for things that people aren't playing. They're getting some buffs to like some of the basic stuff, so the early game on the Druid will feel better. They're also buffing, again, companions. So the ranks to the Wolf Howl is going to be increased with the Storm Companions unique, and the Storm Howl damage is increased by, well, say roughly 180%. I mean, it's not quite the 900% that Barbarians got, so who knows if this is going to be like best in slot, because there's a lot of stuff that was double dipping with the Druid before, and I think that that was kind of the most disappointing things, because as of right now, there's not really a build that can make use of Andariels. The only build that I was aware of was the Shred Druid, and that was with Blurt Beast. I don't know if that's going to be like, you know, enough to make people want to go ahead and play, you know, Druid just for, I guess, the Andariels. But at the moment, I think that that Uber Unique could actually take a look at a buff, because I was hoping that we would get like kind of like an unnerf to make Andariels actually viable. As Uber Unique, it just kind of sees less play than everything else. Anyways, next up, as far as the Rogue goes, here are the changes. So it's Heart Seeker / Forceful Arrow. Attack speeds are being increased by 20%, and they said it should feel much closer into now how Puncture feels. This is another thing where I want to say that at the end of the day, it's better, but they don't understand why Puncture is so good. They mentioned why everyone's playing Puncture. Yes, the reason why people play Puncture is it slows, which is a crowd control. It also applies vulnerability. It also shoots 3 different targets. Those 3 different targets can have individual crits, which can actually proc your bonuses on precision. Now, in addition to that, now you can't just apply all of them. It's just you have 3 chances of applying 1 precision stack, just as a heads up, so we understand what I mean by that. But the reason why everyone plays Puncture is because it uses Condemnation. It has to actually proc off of that weapon to get the bonuses with, of course, the combo points. That's why people actually use it. It's on top of getting the slow, the vulnerability. It's just so much leagues ahead of every single thing. It also counts as a marksman skill that uses daggers, which, well, that's a huge advantage because none of the other skills do that. It's, again, something where I feel like if someone actually played at a very high level, they would understand it. However, I do want to say the people that were playing the Gauntlet actually felt like they knew what they were doing, which is a great change. The one thing that I want to give some criticism on is basically they did like some dungeon showcase, and honestly, to keep it real, they really didn't understand what they were doing in terms of gameplay. But the players playing the Gauntlet, they did good, like, and that's awesome. Anyways, on top of that, Rogue got a buff with Flurry, but I mean, a 10% damage increase. The problem is the animation takes too long. You get like 5 times the DPS with Twisting Blades, but they are also improving the advanced Flurry, and hopefully that will make it a little bit better. And then the precision stacks got reduced, so this is a pretty nice big buff for Rogue, and the aspect of branching volleys got a little redesign, and that redesign over here is basically for Barrage, which honestly most people still probably play Rapid Fire because you get an X30 multiplier on it, and it's pretty massive. And then as far as Necromancer goes, they're mentioning, so Thorns gives you additional armor, Death Reach is going to give you changing from damage to distant enemies to instead grant some extra movement speed, and on top of that, they're buffing Blight, Blood Surge, and Sever, and then some minions are going to be good, mainly in Season 4. But that's it for the patch notes. I'm curious to know what you guys think down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.